Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCORE Fairfield County's live webinar on Become a Trusted Advisor in Your Business and Your Community. I'm Bob Hogan, the webinar coordinator today and a business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County. I'm going to be your host, and our presenter is Chris Salem. More on Chris in just a minute. But first of all, this webinar is being done in collaboration with the Monroe Chamber of Commerce and the Edith Wheeler Memorial Library. In that regard, I'd like to invite Beth Stoller from the Monroe Chamber to also provide some brief introductory remarks. Beth?
Thank you very much, Bob. Good afternoon, everybody. I am thrilled to be here today, and on behalf of the Monroe Chamber of Commerce, the Edith Wheeler Memorial Library, and SCORE, I'd like to welcome you to today's Lunch and Learn. For over 4 years, the three organizations have come together to bring you great business-driven topics to help you to learn and grow as business professionals. If there's a topic that you haven't heard about and you're interested, I will put my email information in the chat screen. If you could email me and let me know, I will work hard to get that. I want to remind you that to mark your calendars, we have the next 2 Lunch and Learns coming up after today's presentation by Chris. Our next 2 will be Friday, June 25th. We will have Meryl Lochner talking about Tell Me a Story, how to focus the narrative of you and your business. And I have heard her speak. It's going to be an excellent presentation. And then again on Monday, August 2nd, we have Marianne Croce, who is going to be speaking on the operator to business owner mindset shift. Marianne is a SCORE mentor. She's a speaker, a small business owner, and a trainer. And I know that that's going to also be a wonderful presentation. We do try to change up the days of the week that we meet on because everybody's schedule is different and we're trying to accommodate as much as we can for your schedule. Today, I know you're in for a great webinar. Chris is a dynamic speaker with years of experience helping folks to do what he's done, building an awesome community. I am proud to be part of his community, and I know that he's got a wonderful introduction written. So I'm going to turn it back to you, Bob, and thank you very much. I look forward to today's presentation.
Great. Thanks very much, Beth. Now I'd just like to provide some brief information on SCORE. SCORE is a nonprofit national partner of the SBA. And locally here in Fairfield County, we have over 130 volunteers with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. And we offer 3 primary value-added services to small business owners. First of all, we offer free one-on-one face-to-face counseling, video or telephone by email. And you can access that counseling by clicking on the yellow bit.ly link that you see on the screen, or you can go to our website and click on the Request a Mentor link. We also offer a wide range of educational workshops and webinars like the one today. And lastly, we offer extensive resources on our website, including access to subject matter experts. Our next live webinar will be tomorrow, Wednesday, May 12th at noon. And the topic is, So You Want to Be an Entrepreneur? What's Next? With Diane Winston presenting. This is the first in a new series to assist women and minority-owned businesses. And you can find more specifics on that on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org. And when you're on our website, you'll also note that we have a large number of archived webinars that you can access on demand. Just some logistics about today's event. We have set aside time for questions at the end of the presentation, and Chris will take those. If you do have a question, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And that's different than some formats we've used where we've used the chat, but we'd like you to use the Q&A feature today. And you can type in your question at any time during the presentation. And we will end the presentation or the session here at 1 o'clock to respect your time. The session is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be available on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, within the next day or 2. It's now my great pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Chris Salem. Chris is an executive coach, corporate trainer, and professional speaker who mentors C-suite, business leaders, entrepreneurs, and sales professionals to create sustainable success at the next level. He has a successful career of 26 years as a senior sales executive. He shares from experience what has worked successfully for him by understanding the root cause behind the effects of limiting patterns in our business and personality. He co-authored Mastering the Art of Success with Jack Canfield. Chris, it's all yours. You're muted, Chris.
I was on mute there. Okay, sorry about that, everybody. I didn't know I was on mute. First of all, Bob, thank you so much for the warm introduction, and Beth, thank you so much always for everything that you do. Welcome, everybody. We're going to be talking about becoming a trusted advisor in your business and community. And I would, throughout this session that we're going to be talking about this topic today, I always like to make it engaging and interactive. So per Bob's logistics that he provided, feel free to contribute, add some value, because Bob will read off some of the things that come in, because that really helps us all here begin to kind of not only learn from one another, but be able to really take away certain things. And your contribution can really help those that are listening. We have a good amount of people on here today, and those that will be listening later. So we encourage you to contribute. You can remain anonymous. We're only going to read off your input and feedback. And of course, any questions that Bob talked about before, feel free to send at any time. We'll be happy to address. So before we start, when you think about this topic, become a trusted advisor in your business and community, I would like you to, some of you to, comment, what would be some takeaways from when you look at this topic that you would like to take away from this, from what you know, without overanalyzing or overthinking it. What would be some takeaways that you would like to see? And I'll have Bob read off a few of them to us. If anybody could put that in the Q&A. Even if it's one takeaway. And the reason why I ask this, because we want to see what your perception of what this is now, and what will it be after we conclude within an hour.
We're getting one, motivating your employees to perform higher and more efficiently.
Great. All right. And I do see something that came in the chat. How do we convey ourselves as trusted advisors? How to find people to partner with? Great. Okay, awesome. All right. So
do people care about value statements?
Yes. Well, people do. Well, people may not care about, what a value statement and what that is, but it's how it's conveyed in different ways that they will. And we're going to cover that. So these are the things that we're going to talk about with the takeaways. We're going to discuss why values play an important part in scaling your business and community. Now, when we think about values, we think about, oh yeah, I know what core values are, but really, would they really have an impact on our business and our brand and what we do in the community? Well, we're going to find out today, because they are powerful. Oftentimes that people are connecting on these values at the subconscious levels. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about how a value statement can help transform your business and community position. See, a value statement isn't what you do, it's why you do what you do. So we're going to talk about that. Think about when you are doing business with someone and they don't know you yet. Do they really care at that point what you do and what makes you unique? Or is it that connection on something that may have nothing to do with your business, but everything that is about why you do what you do? It could be something that, again, that plays to those values. We're going to talk about the importance and how when we can put emphasis in that particular area, how that can help transform your marketing, your influence factor, and all the other things that you're doing in your community. And we're going to talk about a little bit about why being compelling is going to be more impactful in the long run than what makes you unique and stand out. So let's start off. What is a trusted advisor? When you think about what is a trusted advisor, what does that mean to you? When you think of that term, what is a trusted advisor? Let me see. Somebody says, I just like to be the guy who people go for copier repairs, copier sales, because I'm going to be that go guy who gives great buying advice. Okay, great. So we gotta give them a reason. We got to give them a reason more than just what you do. It's why you do what you do in this business. And sometimes it may not have anything to do with your business. Somebody says, I can go get information that works. Okay, great. A trusted advisor, again, this is somebody that is going to be really coming from why they do what they do versus what they do. This is someone that is going to be operating from a set of values that puts people first. So yes, we want to do business with people. We want to create, in our communities, a place where people feel safe, where they can, get involved in activities, do things that support families, and so on. But before we can really emphasize that in itself, there's got to be that why behind what we're doing. And then somebody says, I'm credible. Yeah. So trusted advisor, yeah, we want to be, looked upon with our character, somebody they can trust, somebody that's reliable, credible, someone that comes from integrity. Those are all core values. So let's take a look at some characteristics of what a trusted advisor is. Now you see here in the picture, these would just be an example of some of the values that could represent someone or a business. Doesn't have to be just necessarily the person, but it's always going to be the people and the business together, regardless of how big your company is. But why is, characteristics of trusted advisors important? Well, again, this is how people show up. How you show up in your community, how you show up in your business really reflects in a big way with how people are going to relate to you. Then even more so, what's important, how you relate to them and that they feel understood. See, when people feel related to and understood, whatever that may mean to them, they're more likely to do what? Let's say there's something that somebody says, which focuses on long-term relationships. Yeah. Somebody says trusted advisor is someone who offers value, whether it's advice in the industry, even if you don't get the sale. Yeah, absolutely. Being of value, being a resource. But what I was talking about here before, that when we look at, a characteristic of a trusted advisor, this is someone that, again, is going to be self-aware of who they are. Why is self-awareness important? Well, see, self-awareness is very, very important because how we show up each and every day, whether if it's virtually or in the public, in person, in our community, in our business, to our audience. Self-awareness means we have to be conscious to how we show up, our character, our attitude, how we communicate, how we behave, the type of decisions we make, the type of risks we take, and how we follow through on what we commit to. So self-awareness kind of has to be someone that is transparent, who's vulnerable. Why is transparency and vulnerability? Many people would look at transparency and vulnerability as a weakness. Let's turn the tables here. Why would that be considered a strength as a trusted advisor to the audience you serve? Shows honesty. Yeah. How about somebody else? They can see who you really are. Yeah. Think about it. If you put yourself on the other side, if you were now going to buy something from someone, and that person is a real estate agent. You're right now, you want to buy a home here in Fairfield County, Connecticut. There are how many real estate agents in a 60-mile radius in Fairfield County? I don't know about you, but there's got to be 10,000, probably, if not more. Part-time, somewhere in the middle, some that are very active. Why are they going to do business with you? Because you're a real estate agent and you work at Remax or Keller Williams or William Ravis? It's because you're relatable. They feel you're like an everyday person like them where they are. People relate to others that relate to them, and they feel understood of where they are. When we can be transparent and vulnerable, not in a way that we're airing our dirty laundry, but by being out there in our communities, getting involved in activities, but our values are being displayed, not because we're trying to put on a show, but that these are things that actually reflect who and why what we do, even in our personal lives. So self-awareness is really understanding ourselves, understanding what values that we operate from, not someone else's values, but our own. It's self-aware of how we show up in our business, in our community, personally. Are we operating from negative or positive emotions? Are we operating from limiting beliefs or from a place of a higher level of confidence? Now, we're all humans. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to have different things that we're going through in life. But by being transparent and vulnerable, it allows us to address the areas that we can improve, that we can now be a better example and a resource for others from what they observe in us. People begin to kind of, buy into things based upon what they observe in others, to look at themselves and what they can do to change. See, trusted advisors know that their role is 24/7. It's not something you do 8 hours a day or whatever, how long that you put, time into your business or your community. This is something that has to become an automatic pattern subconsciously that shows up in your everyday life, in your personal life, in your business life, in your community life. So it starts with self-awareness. And we talked about transparency and vulnerability being genuine. Now, as trusted advisors, we have a mission. And we're going to be talking about a value statement here later today, and how a value statement can really help us to really hone in and enhance our mission-driven statement. Many of us know what we do, but perhaps do you really know why you do what you do? Now, some of us do know that. Some of us may think we know that, but today's session is going to help you to kind of really look within to see, are we showing up from our why and not just our what? Now, many of the other things about characteristics of trusted advisors is it's not that we are the most skilled, the most talented. It really reflects in how we think and how we show up from our hearts, not just our heads. And how we think is from a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset operating in the past, in the future, operating from fear that leads to them being tied to expectations, to outcomes. When we can now think from a growth mindset, being present, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on another slide, and how we can show up to really connect in that moment with our audience, with our customers, our clients, whatever that may be to you. People that are looking to you as someone that they can model from in the community, the things that you are doing in your community. We have to serve ourselves, nurture and cultivate our foundations, our success foundations, if we're able to give something of value through our example to others. Another thing about trusted advisors, we are committed to the process, to results. See, from a growth mindset, we learn that we can only control what we know and what we have. Would it be safe to say, I'd like to see in the chat box or question Q&A, whatever you prefer, would it be safe to say that most people get caught up in trying to control what they can't control? I see a lot of yeses. Yes. How about somebody else? Anybody agree with that? Absolutely. And it's okay if you don't. Sure to agree. Yes. We can't control COVID. We can't control the economy. We can't control what's going on in your industry. We can't control the employee that works for you that showed up late. Now, there are certain things you can get around that to address that, of course, but I'm just using that as a way to illustrate the point. We can't control someone else's communication, how they perceive what we said. We can't control their behavior. We can't control their attitude. We can't control the action that they take or not take. The only thing that we can control is what we know. What we know is what we know in our role, our duty. We can control our communication, how we communicate to ourselves and other people. Are we showing up in a codependent or interdependent way? So what does that mean? Well, codependent means that we are aiming to please and enable others because we need something from them. We need that validation and that recognition, not in a good way, but an unhealthy way. That's not a sign of a trusted advisor. pleasing, enabling people just to get their approval is not helping them. What it's doing is allowing them to justify where they are and not helping themselves. But if we can shift from codependent to being interdependent, from pleasing and enabling to being empathetic, kind, we can help others by sharing, not telling, from a place of being the example through our behavior and our communication and the action we take. And by being resourceful, sharing information that will allow people to help themselves. And that is even in our businesses. Now, granted, there are some things that some people are in businesses that do for others, and that's okay. But think about it. If your client doesn't have any ownership at all in that process, are they going to have the better experience from it? If they do their part to use it correctly, or to take whatever that is to improve the quality of their lives or their business, if they were to do that and they're playing a role and they have a duty in it, are they going to have a better experience? Yeah. They're going to have a better experience. And when people have better experiences, what do? They refer people. They want to do more business with you. So these are some of the characteristics, but also secrets of being a trusted advisor. So we are committed to the process of controlling what we can, what we know, maximizing that each day, each week, each month, each quarter, each year, and then allowing the results to be a byproduct of that. Whatever they can't control, they let go. Every day, every week, every month, every quarter, some missing piece to the puzzle will reveal itself. And once it comes into your power of knowing and that you can control, you can then continue to add the pieces. It's just like when you're putting money into a 401k and it compounds with interest. Same principle here. But as human beings, we tend to get caught up in the things we can't control. We get caught up in other people's behaviors. We get caught up in other people's drama. We get caught up in other people's views and opinions. We get caught up in why things are not working or why customers are not doing something, instead of focusing on the solutions, using critical thinking, solving the challenge, and finding ways to create the solution. And it's always about relationships. If we're going to build build that credibility and that trust, it's not what you do initially that's going to make that happen. It's that why of who you are, those values that represent you. I can tell you, for me, the values that represent me in my life and my business are transparency, integrity, and honesty. Does that mean every person that I connect with is going to have those same values? No. But could they have similar values that we could connect at least on one value? Absolutely. Somebody could value trust. They could value someone being ethical, somebody who follows through. Now, would that relate to transparency, integrity, and honesty? Absolutely. And there are going to be people where you have contrasting values. Now, if you could find a way to connect on at least one value where there's some common ground, then that's all you need to connect on. But that's not always going to be the case. There's some people that we will have contrasting values. Doesn't mean that they're wrong and you're right and you're wrong and they're right. It just means that possibly that it's not a fit to do business. We're never going to be everything for everyone, but we'll always be something for someone, in this case, more than one person. Trusted advisors know that it's not about chasing people to convince them, to persuade them to see their point of view. It's about sharing versus telling to empower them to draw their own conclusion. When we can empower them through that trust, those core values that are working behind the scenes subconsciously, building that connection, people feeling related to and understood, lowering their guard, now in a position to go, wow, this person relates to me. This business relates to me. They understand me. I'm now in a position to know what they can do to help me help myself, or help my business help itself. Help somebody I know help themselves. So it's important that all starts with self-awareness, understanding your values, committing to a process that's in the moment to what we can control and letting go of what we can't. So we're not tied to expectations to outcomes in the past and the future that lead to more disappointment and trying to control what we can't. These are some attributes of trusted advisors. We're going to all have strengths and weaknesses. So I would ask you, in your business or in the community, answer yourself honestly. Do you play more to your strengths or more to your weaknesses? Some of you might be solopreneurs. Some of you might have small businesses with a few people. Some of you might be running small companies. What would that look like? Would it be safe to say you play more to your strengths or more to your weaknesses? We can put that in the chat box. And again, somebody says strengths, good. And if it's your weaknesses, that's fine. You're being honest. Strengths, good. Strengths. So I'm seeing a lot of strengths, which is good. Okay, great. So, but think about it. There are going to be weaknesses. The question is, are you getting caught up in spending more of your time in the weaknesses or more time with your strengths? Are you leveraging resources, systems, people that their strength will offset your weakness? But somebody says, try to use strengths, but weaknesses pop up. Yeah, we can get better at our weaknesses, but does that mean you're going to become really good at it? Not necessarily. I can do administration. I can get better at it, but am I ever going to be really good at it? No, it's not my strength. I have a service that does that for me, and I gladly will pay them per month to do it, knowing it gives me more time to focus on what I'm really good at as a trusted advisor to service my clients. That investment will pay far more back to me by leveraging my weakness there, with them that being their strength, allowing me to focus more on my strengths. So the question is being honest of where, if we have more weaknesses that we're paying more attention to, then that can be doing us a disservice. Somebody says leveraging on weakness has an uncertain return. Energy on strengths has a great return. Yeah, great. Absolutely. And just like we build rapport, like we do as trusted advisors with our clients, we have to do the same with our people we work with, people that work for us. Perhaps we have alliance partners or joint venture partners, people that we subcontract work to. Are we connecting on those values? Where can we connect on those values to find that one value, if not more, to connect with them to build a stronger relationship? Doesn't mean that you have to be best friends with them. Doesn't mean you have to hang around with them. It's finding where you can connect on those values, putting aside their opinions, their beliefs, in politics, religion, whatever that may be. Everyone's going to have an opinion or a belief. It's right now focusing on what's best for your business and serving them. What's best working together to serve the client for better outcomes through that process. It's the ability to commit to that process, to follow through. Thinking for yourself. Now, you'd be amazed. I've seen a lot of people I've worked with that have been in business even for a while, that for years have been operating from someone else's values. I raised my hand to that because of the first 10 years of my life, I was operating from my father's values. Why was I doing that? Why do you think I was operating from my father's values? My father was in his own business. Now, so it might sound like a good thing. In some ways it can be. But why do you think I was operating from my father's values? There's no right and wrong. You can take a guess. Put away even our differences and found what connects us to them, okay? Well, let me share why I was following my father's values. He was my role model. Yeah. Here's the thing. My desire was for him to be my role model. But my father never became that. And why? See, I've been seeking my father as a role model my whole life as a kid. And my father was not there. My father was traveling. Look, he was building a business. He was looking to become successful. He grew up poor. But my father never gave me and my brother time as a father to be part of the things that we were doing growing up. So I had this strong need for validation that I never got from my father growing up. That developed into a limiting belief that ended up really causing a lot of issues in my early years in my career. It shifted me towards codependent behavior, passive aggressive in my communication with myself and other people. And being a passive aggressive is very off-putting to people. If you've ever met one, doesn't mean they're bad people. It's just because they're a product of their environment. And as a result of that strong need for validation, I had high expectations that went unfulfilled because I operated from fear-based thinking in the past and the future. So where I'm going with this is that trusted advisors through self-awareness are aware of their communication and behavior we talked about earlier and how this can impact us. See, I was adopting my father's values because I've been led to believe that you sacrifice everything to put into your business, even if that means yourself and your family. And those values were really not true to me. And I struggled and I was frustrated. I was angry. I dealt with 10 years of addiction, 12 years of addiction, actually. Now, that's not the brunt of what we're talking about, but I'm just trying to talk about reality here of what some people that may be listening or people that have businesses that might be dealing with something similar to this right now. Can this have impact on your business? Absolutely. The mask, you can hide it only for so long. Trusted advisors don't wear a mask. They're authentic, transparent, like we said. They address these problems, knowing that their businesses are a byproduct of themselves. So it's important that we think for ourselves and that we operate from a premise of giving without expectation, from empathy and kindness, being interdependent, being resourceful, being the example for others, and receiving without resistance. So knowing that if we give without expectation, even if it doesn't come back from the person we gave to, it's okay. If we didn't please and enable them, that's even better. But when it comes back from somewhere else, we receive graciously with gratitude. And we ask often, but we ask once we've gotten into a place where that person feels related to and understood. They're open now for suggestions. They're open for recommendations. Nobody wants to be sold. People desire to buy. And when people desire to buy, they're doing it from a place because you give them a reason why. Whether if it's conscious or subconscious or both. It's always adding value. Not directly, could be indirect. I know personally, I post things around business related topics, around personal stuff that help people help themselves. I've been doing that for 8 years consistently every day. And people ask, why do you do that? Does that really make a difference in your business? Well, I have KPIs in place to measure it. And so in the beginning, it didn't, but over time, it built trust. It built credibility. It showed the type of person I really was when they got to know me. And that just continued a cycle of referrals, more opportunities, more business. Did I have challenges and setbacks? Absolutely. But because I'm thinking differently, I looked at them as growing opportunities, lessons to learn, to grow and become more and better, not the best, but to be my best, to raise that level of value and quality service to my clients. So it's always about being consistent. These are attributes of trusted advisors. Let's take a look at, again, just a little bit about the mindset. I kind of reflected about this earlier, but why is this important? So think about a foundation to a house. If you're going to build a beautiful home, you got to have a rock solid foundation. Is it going to be perfect? No, nothing's perfect. Perfectionism is a codependent trait anyway, because I'm a recovering perfectionist. I grew up that way. A fixed mindset is fear-based thinking, as we said earlier. You're operating in the past and the future. Limiting beliefs are from your past and childhood. They attach itself to a situation that triggers fear. It gets projected into the future, and that creates some level of anxiety. That will produce stress, cortisol in the body to create stress. That anxiety can lead to feeling overwhelmed, frustrated. It could lead to procrastination. Procrastination is not just not doing anything. It can mean that you're busy, very busy, but not productive. There's a difference. It's the communication, what you're saying to yourself. Is that showing up in how you're communicating to other people? Well, eventually it will, because you think you're hiding it, but it shows up in your behavior. And these are the things that could be subtly behind the scenes impacting you in business, not even realizing it. So when we can address the foundation, and the foundation for any successful person or business starts with the mindset. And then once we're able to shift to a growth mindset, being present to the best of our ability, trusting the process, controlling what we can, letting go of what we can't, and allowing the results to be a byproduct of that process, then we can build the other layer on top of that for our foundation. And those are the core values. Those values that truly represent you, that represent your business. How do they relate to others that are working with you directly or indirectly? Where do you connect on those shared values? And how does that show up in how you connect to the community and the clients you serve or the audience you serve? This is a process. It takes time. And there's certain things that can help you to shift from a fixed to a growth mindset. Let's discuss that briefly. If we want to go from managing the problem to creating a solution, it's all in your daily routine. It's what you do each and every day that's either serving you or not. I know being a perfectionist and operating in fight or flight mode for the first 30 years of my life had a great impact negatively on my emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual well-being. It was completely the other way around. I didn't have a routine, but there were two cornerstone habits that changed that for me to develop a success foundation, to create that role as a trusted advisor, to build a better business and more presence in a positive way in the community. That was through meditation and journaling. Two universal habits that will allow you to get to the root cause of limiting beliefs from your childhood. We all have them. And over time, to remove them, and in the same place from a clean slate, to create better habits and disciplines that will allow you to move out of the problem into the solution, to look at challenges and setbacks as part of the growth process to grow yourself in your business, learning to be more focused through clarity in the moment. So I'll give you an example of some of my disciplines. Now, discipline and consistency are so important here. This means that through discipline, you're doing these things even when you don't want to do them, knowing they're going to serve you. So you don't come up with an excuse. I didn't feel like doing it today. You do it regardless. It's what's going to build and solidify and enhance your foundation for you and your business. So I wake up every morning at 4:15. I meditate for 20 minutes. I journal. I write down whatever comes to mind. I don't overanalyze. I don't overthink. There's no intention. I'm just writing whatever my subconscious mind is telling my conscious mindset. I can then go back and look at myself from a third-party perspective to see what might be getting in my way, to remove it. I exercise. Not every day, but I do planks every day, but I go to the gym 4 days a week to do resistance training, cardio. I eat a healthy breakfast. I read a chapter or two out of a book that I'm working on, something for myself or a client. And then I review my daily goals, breaking them down specifically to the priorities that matter to address. This is 7 days a week, 365 days a year. When you have a routine, just like you may have a routine in your business, this is what's going to take you from where you are to where you want to be, and how you show up in your business and how you show up in your community. A daily routine can change the quality of your life and business for the better. You can learn to be a better example for your spouse, your partner, your children, people in your community. Somebody says, I do a home workout with resistance bands. Awesome. Somebody says, suggest reading Change Your Question, Change Your Life by Marilee Adams. Yeah. But just like you have a foundation for your business, or there's a foundation of how your community operates from, it starts with each of us, the person itself. Trusted advisors know that no one's going to do it for us except ourselves. It's our role and our duty and our responsibility to do it for ourselves, to be the example and be a resource for others to do the same from what they observe in you. Just like your children are going to learn from what they observe. I learned what I observed in my mother and father. Some things were great because I had a great work ethic, but the things I learned that didn't serve me was being a perfectionist and just checking out emotionally, escaping. And that led me down 12 years of not good. So here's an example of a trusted advisor. And I always still like to use Tony. He sadly passed away last November. I believe it was November, December, in a fire. I still can't believe it. But this is an example of someone that had his foundation from day one, when Zappos came to fruition. Now, for any of the ladies that are on here that buy shoes online, you probably bought shoes from Zappos, which is now part of Amazon. And Zappos is always ranked in the top 5 for customer service each and every year. Is it because they sell shoes? Is it the shoes itself that is why they're in the top 5, why their company is successful? Well, it might look like that when you look at the financials, the profit and loss, the balance sheet, pro forma, whatever the case may be. But it was the why. People connected with their values before what they did. This company was built from day one, from scratch, from that same recipe. Doesn't mean if you didn't start this way, you got to start all over again. You can always do this, even with a business that's been around for years. But I use Tony as an example because this was a person that he didn't actually start Zappos. He was on the private equity side at the time that was looking to invest in Zappos. The original founder knew through integrity, his core values, that he was not suited to be a CEO. He was a founder, but he felt that somebody else would be better suited with their strengths to run the company, allowing that person now to focus on what their strengths were. Thus, where Tony now moved over from being an investor into being actually running the company. So even as people in our own organizations, trusted advisors recognize that sometimes there might be someone better to run the company than me, and allowing me to focus on what I'm good at, maybe being the face in the community, allowing someone that has better administrative and operation experience to focus on doing that, so it frees up my time to do what I do best. So who are trusted advisors in your community? I'd like to see if there's anybody that you recognize in your community that you hold in high regard, that everything we've shared up to this point aligns with this. If anybody would like to share, as long as that you feel comfortable sharing their names, especially if they're out there in the community anyway, and they're, you see them in the, local papers and online and in the news. What are some people that you would hold in high regard as community leaders that would demonstrate several things that we've shared so far about trusted advisors? Somebody says, unfortunately, none. Wow. Well, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. And that was not a trick question. Well, maybe it was in some way, but you're right. There are people out there, don't get me wrong, but there's not enough. There's not enough. As trusted advisors, we're not here waiting for someone to roll, to take this message and roll with it. Somebody like what I'm doing right now. It's all of our responsibilities. Just like it takes a village to raise a child, if we're going to make our communities more than they are now, it's each of our responsibilities. Somebody says Ray Dalio. Yeah, I love that. Ray is someone that is very giving, someone that speaks his mind, but very truthful, very humble, very approachable. Great example. And he happens to live right in our backyard. I do trust my one senator, not the other, because he kept me posted on state updates, Congress updates during COVID-19. Great. Again, there's no right or wrong answers. Everyone's going to have a different perception, somebody they admire. And that's what's great about that. It's admiring people for those strengths and the things they've done. Celebrate them. Being the example for us to help produce more people to do the same for themselves. It's not about who came up with the idea, who gets the credit. It's like whatever is going to work best for people in our community. Everyone doing their part. Everyone having a role and a duty and a responsibility to create an interdependent environment. And guess what? You know where that starts? Where do you think this all starts, being a trusted advisor? What would you, based on what we talked about so far, where do you think this all begins? Now, of course, it begins with you, but in what environment does that begin with you? What environment with yourself where that begins? If anyone would like to take a guess? In my day-to-day, okay? It begins in our home. It starts in our home with our families. And then it branches out to our communities. And then it branches out to our businesses in those communities. And then to the customers we serve. Interdependency grows one person at a time. When we can step up and be the example for others to do the same. Starts in our home. Being the example as a father, a mother, a parent, a spouse, a partner. And then branching out as a member in your community, regardless of title. And the same in your business, and how you serve others. We serve through our example. I'm going to discuss real briefly the 5 I's of influence mastery. To be a trusted advisor, it starts with insight. See, insight is knowledge, intellectual intelligence. It's what you do. You're a plumber, you know plumbing. You know how to solve plumbing issues. You're a realtor, you understand the real estate market in the area you serve, certain types of homes you deal with. That's great. But if it's not applied with the why, oftentimes there's going to be a disconnect. So insight itself is great, but if it's not applied through the why, it may not connect at a deeper level like you think. It's the ability to take initiative, to be proactive. There's always going to be challenges and setbacks. They're part of the success formula. We learn from our mistakes. We learn from setbacks. We learn from failures. Failure is part of the process. Fail it forward. You've probably heard that term. But if we can learn each time, from that, we can be more proactive to solve problems quicker, to create solutions. Trusted advisors understand that. They understand that influence is not persuading someone to see your point of view, not telling you how, when, or why, or convincing you to see something a certain way. It's advocating and sharing something that maybe that allows you to draw your own conclusion what that means to you. Just like I'm sharing here. You get to decide what this means to you. And when we do that, we do it with impact. Impact meaning that are we consistent with that value and how we're connecting with people on that why each and every day through social media, through speaking at Rotaries or at chamber events, being on video, talking about certain things around your community or certain things in the business that you're in, but not that you're just talking about what you do, but why you do what you do. What are the challenges? What can we do together to overcome them? What can you play a part in that? And finally, the fifth eye that makes it all stick is integrity. It's doing the right thing when no one's looking. There are many times that I've had people come to me to coach them, and I know I could help them, but I knew that for their particular situation, there was someone else that would be better suited for them. And I referred them to someone else. Well, people thought, well, you're nuts. Why would you give away the business? You could have still helped them. But see, I would have been doing that not out of integrity. See, when you give without expectation, you receive without resistance. It comes back. I know that. Trust advisors already know that. May not happen tomorrow, may not happen next week, the week after, might happen in a year. But either way, it's knowing that it comes back to you and better than before. So what are some ways to leverage your consistency with content to connect with people on that why? What's focusing on your strengths? Some of that might be through blogs, written content, video, through YouTube, through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Might be on your website. Could be podcasts, radio shows, TV, internet TV, local TV. Could be national TV, depending upon what business you're in. Speaking at Rotary events, webinars, chamber events. Could be even on a bigger level at industry events, personal development events, whatever that may mean, whatever business you're in. It's not speaking on what you do, it's speaking to the why. It may have nothing to do with what you do. I had a realtor that built her business indirectly based upon her family values. She represented an organization that catered to family-related matters. She used to write content. Her production in real estate was in the bottom 25% because she was focused on what she did. She wasn't resonating with people. People were resonating with her content and how she showed up with her family values with that nonprofit organization. And when she simply put a realtor next to her name, that's all she did. She didn't tell what agency she worked for. She didn't try to sell herself or list homes, and she couldn't do that anyway. People began to connect with her now on helping them buy a home or referring people to her because of why she did what she did based on family values. In this case, it had nothing to do with real estate. She did this through written articles that she did for this nonprofit. She started doing videos and was able to build more success in her real estate business indirect from that core value of family values. So what is your roadmap to growth? Well, it's having a business plan, a business acceleration plan, a strategy, an influence strategy. Building on that why to connect with your audience on a deeper level, on a consistent basis, leveraging channels that play to your strengths, using resources that play to your weaknesses to let that handle that. But we have to have clarity. In addition to a mission statement, we have to have a value statement. I'm going to explain that here shortly. I know we have a very small period of time, but I'm going to go through it. It's having specific objectives and goals. Always aligning our values and principles to the best of our ability and how they align with our business and where we're going. Doing a SWOT analysis, our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. I don't even like to even use that word threat anymore. I don't view it as competition, but it just Threats can be looked at as that could be unforeseen things in your industry or the economy, or there could be what we dealt with on a global level, the pandemic. Taking those into consideration as threats, not the competition itself. It's more about collaboration. There's plenty of business out there. It's about doing the right thing, serving from our why. It's getting clear on our strategies and goals, being very specific, breaking down everything down to the minutest level from what we know. We're not going to know everything. Again, we can only control what we know and have right now. And it's being proactive and being laser focused moving forward. So what are your values? Ask yourself, what are those values that define you? How does that show up with the people you relate to in your business or your alliance partners? People you serve as clients? Well, we can create a value statement anytime, even if you've been in business a long time. It starts with understanding your own values. What are they? How do they relate to people in your industry, in your business, people you serve? Finding where there's that common ground that you can now find that shared value or values to build a culture around. When you can build a culture around shared values, you can build a thriving culture, one where people engage at a higher level, people where that creates more interdependency versus codependency, to own their own role and duty and be responsible and accountable to do it at a higher level. It helps us to really clearly define our mission or enhance it if we've already had one for several years. To begin to look at our customers. Are we going to be everything for everyone? No. Maybe we can only do business with certain people we know that we align on those shared values. We could save ourselves a lot of marketing dollars and a lot of time wasted chasing people that may never become clients, or they're not the clients we'd like to have. And when we're consistent with putting out content that connects with people on that why, we're building our influence factor each and every day. It can be just on social media, being consistent, making posts on your business page, on your personal page, making sure that they're connected so they're cohesive in terms of those values, showing the type of person you are and how you show up in your personal life and in your business. It's what makes you compelling. A value statement may start off with an intellectual intelligence stat. According to Gallup research, 55% of people suffer from stress. I was one of those people that suffered from stress and was able to find a process that allowed me to get out of the problem into the solution. Today, there's a process, so you something that's going to be compelling to them. It's not about what you do, it's the why. That's what's compelling. We're sharing that. We're not telling. It can almost become like your elevator pitch in a way, even though I don't like to use that word elevator pitch, but that when somebody asks what you do, instead of telling what you do, you tell them why. They're going to be more engaged with that than what you do. They'll check out. And at the end, can we end it with something that gives them the sense that you could help solve their problem? So it starts with the stat. It starts with something that is compelling to them through your example. And then it gives a hint that it can solve their problem. That's compelling. Somebody says, I've done that before. I referred another copier dealer. Okay, got it. We're talking, okay, great. I'm going to go through this. We're going to get through this because we only have another minute. Steps to prepare your value statement. And you're more than welcome to reach out here. I'll be happy to give you some more information. It's determining your value. It's incorporating emotional intelligence to intellectual intelligence. Being compelling to show people what's possible. We want to avoid catchy marketing phrases. Again, we want to make sure that this is something that's going to be compelling to help people see that you have something that will help them to help themselves solve an issue. And I'm happy to provide any complimentary consultation if needed or any questions. There's no obligation. I want to thank everybody here. Again, this is some information to reiterate what Bob talked about with the SCORE program, offering so many different services. And Bob, if there's anything that else you'd like to share, I'll leave it there with you.
Yeah, will do. Chris, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we don't have time for any more
Yep.
questions, but as Chris said, you can certainly reach out to him. And as a reminder, the webinar has been recorded and will be available on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, within the next day or two. Our next live webinar is tomorrow, Wednesday, May 12th at noon. And the topic is, So You Want to Be an Entrepreneur? What's Next? With Diane Winston presenting. And again, if you'd like to take advantage of the free counseling, you can also go to our website and get it there. We would like you to please fill out your evaluations that are being sent at the end of the webinar. They greatly help us going forward. And I would like to also thank again the Monroe Chamber of Commerce and the Edith Wheeler Memorial Library for their help in planning this webinar with SCORE. And on behalf of SCORE, thank you all for attending today. And a special thank you for Chris for presenting today. Have a great day, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great one.